Have you ever wondered what it feels like for a tadpole as it transforms into a frog? Its tail shortens, legs grow out, and its body changes every single day. If it looked in the mirror, would it be startled? Is this still the same me as yesterday? Actually, when you think about it, all of us have gone through moments like this. From high school to university, from school to the workplace, or even moving from one city to another. Yesterday, you were still the person used to your old life, but today, you're suddenly thrust into a completely unfamiliar world, where even your clothes don't feel quite right anymore. In Japan, there's a picture book series that tells this story in a wonderfully unique way. It doesn't preach any grand lessons, it's simply about the daily lives of 7 little frogs, putting on new clothes, looking for their belly buttons, learning to sing, watching the snow, and saying thank you. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Yet these 5 stories have sold nearly 1 million copies in Japan, remained on the Japanese Library Association's recommended book list for 28 consecutive years, and influenced the childhoods of 2 whole generations. Today, let's talk about this series, The 7 Little Frogs, and discover what these little characters' stories hide that makes even adults tear up. I'm Sunshine, and welcome to today's episode of Delusion. The story takes place in a quiet forest. In the middle of a pond, 7 little tadpoles swim carefree, spending their days sunbathing, chasing pondweed, and blowing bubbles at each other. Then one day, an Uncle Rabbit arrives at the pondside and sets up a small tailor shop. From that moment, the tadpoles' world begins to change. The first story is called Wearing New Clothes. The tadpoles notice that the animals in the forest have beautiful outfits. Butterflies have patterned wings and deer wear spotted coats. They also want outfits of their own, so they run to Uncle Rabbit to get measured for tailoring. But there's a problem. After much effort, Uncle Rabbit makes a set of clothes, but the tadpoles' bodies change again. Their tails shorten, legs pop out, and the original clothes don't fit anymore. Uncle Rabbit has to keep altering them, 4 times in total, before finally creating clothes that fit. By the time they put the new clothes on, they are no longer tadpoles, they've transformed into proper little frogs. The brilliance of this story lies in how it turns the biological transformation of tadpoles into frogs into a tale about the frustration of always outgrowing your clothes. Think about it, who hasn't experienced something like this growing up? Last year's school uniform doesn't fit anymore. Shoes that were new 2 months ago now feel tight. That's what growth is. You may not be ready, but your body makes the decision for you. The second story is called Finding Belly Buttons. Summer arrives, and the 7 little frogs jump into the pond to swim. Other animals notice their smooth bellies and tease them, asking, "Why don't you have belly buttons?" The little frogs panic and start searching everywhere for their belly buttons. They flip their bellies, look at their reflections in the water, and check each other, but they can't find anything. Finally, Uncle Rabbit explains, frogs hatch from eggs and aren't born from their mother's bellies, so they naturally don't have belly buttons. The little frogs suddenly understand and proudly exclaim, "Not having belly buttons is what makes us special." The third story, Sing Sing, is even more interesting. The little frogs want to host a music concert, but their voices are so loud, croaking ribbit, ribbit, that they annoy all the neighbors. The animals in the forest cover their ears and hide. The little frogs feel dejected and think their voices are a flaw. But they don't give up. They begin practicing earnestly, adjusting their rhythm and tone. Finally, they manage to sing a harmonious chorus, attracting friends from all over the forest. The fourth story, Let's See the Snow, takes place in winter. The little frogs have never seen snow before and are very curious and eager. But frogs are cold-blooded animals, and they need to hibernate in winter. They can't endure the cold. They turn to Uncle Rabbit for help, hoping to catch a glimpse of the snow before hibernating. The tenderness of this story lies in its message. Some things are temporarily out of reach, but that doesn't mean they're forever unattainable, nor does it mean your longing is wrong. The last story, Thank You, is set around Christmas. Before hibernating, the little frogs want to give Uncle Rabbit a gift to show their gratitude for his care. They work together to prepare a surprise in their own way. This conclusion ties the entire series together. From seeking help and relying on others in the beginning to giving back and expressing gratitude in the end, the 7 little frogs complete a full arc of growth. While the 5 stories appear independent, they actually form a clear timeline: transformation in spring, exploration in summer, practice in autumn, anticipation in winter, and gratitude at the year's end. It's a journey through the 4 seasons and, simultaneously, a child's path from naivety to maturity. When you finish reading these 5 stories, you may feel they're just simple, cute, and warm children's picture books. But if you're willing to crouch down and see the world through a child's perspective, you'll discover that Naomi Abe has embedded 3 profound life questions within these seemingly straightforward tales. The first question: what do you do when you're becoming someone new and your old clothes no longer fit? On the surface, wearing new clothes is a humorous tale about tadpoles turning into frogs and repeatedly altering clothes. But if you think about it, isn't this a reflection of all of us? When you were in high school, you thought you'd already figured out the path you wanted for the future. But once you got to university, you realized things weren't as you thought. You believed you were suited for finance, but after a few classes, you found psychology more intriguing. You thought you were an introvert, but involvement in clubs revealed you were actually quite outgoing. You assumed you'd stay in your hometown forever, but one train ticket took you to a faraway city. Each change is like that ill-fitting outfit. You just got accustomed to one identity, and then your body and mind grow a bit more, and your old self-perception no longer fits the new you. So what do you do? In the story, Uncle Rabbit offers a particularly tender answer: you adapt. He doesn't force the tadpoles to squeeze back into their old clothes, nor does he mock them for changing again. Instead, he patiently picks up his needle and thread and alters the garments time and time again until they fit. When Naomi Abe wrote this series, she was both a lecturer at Sacred Heart Women's University and the president of the Japanese Infant Education Research Association. She spent a lot of time observing children's development and discovered that a child's greatest anxiety wasn't falling down or being scolded. It was, why am I different from yesterday? This kind of anxiety doesn't disappear with age. 20-year-olds have their own doubts, 30-year-olds experience unease, and 40-year-olds face their own forms of confusion. But this book delivers an important message: change isn't a problem, change is a gift. Every ill-fitting outfit means you've grown just a little bit more. Do you have someone in your life like Uncle Rabbit? Someone who doesn't try to stop your changes but stays by your side, helping you find the right place after every transformation? If you do, cherish them. If you don't, that's okay too, because you can become your own Uncle Rabbit. The second question: when there's something the whole world has but you don't, does that make you flawed or unique? The brilliance of Finding Belly Buttons lies in how it takes a philosophical question and wraps it in a child's dilemma. The little frogs feel anxious and desperate, searching for proof that they're just like everyone else, just because they're mocked for lacking belly buttons. Doesn't this sound like the kind of anxiety we feel scrolling through social media, where everyone else seems to be flaunting travel photos, love lives, or job offers? Why don't I have what everyone else seems to have? This is probably the most common mental cold young people face today. Others are interning while you're still lost. Others are dating while you're still single. Others easily network while you're tongue-tied in conversations. But the story beautifully flips this idea. Frogs don't have belly buttons, not because they're lacking something, but because their life path is fundamentally different. They hatch from eggs and follow a completely different biological journey. So not having belly buttons isn't a defect, it's proof of their unique identity. This reminds me of a phrase: don't measure your life against someone else's yardstick. What you don't have might not mean you're inadequate. It might just mean you're traveling a different road. Your starting point is different, your experiences are different, and your belly button is naturally different too. True confidence isn't about proving I'm the same as everyone else, it's about accepting I'm different from everyone else, and that's wonderful. The third question: what you think is a flaw could become your talent when you approach it differently. Sing Sing talks about the frustration of having voices that are too loud. The little frog's naturally loud croaking is seen as a problem in the peaceful forest. The other animals dislike the noise and cover their ears. If the story ended here, the message would be learn to stay quiet and not bother others. But it doesn't stop there. The frogs don't choose silence. Instead, they find ways to turn their loud voices into an advantage. They practice choral singing, transforming noise into music. Saltaida Morio's illustrations are particularly touching here. His delicate brushwork captures the frogs' earnest expressions as they practice, conveying a clumsiness that is deeply relatable. It reminds you of your own efforts learning to ride a bike, swim, or play piano as a child. Saltaida Morio devoted his entire career to illustrating children's books, and though his style is simple and rough, his drawings perfectly capture the earnest and adorable vitality of children. Now look at yourself. Do you have traits that were once considered flaws? Maybe you talk too much, maybe you're too sensitive, or maybe you can't stop overthinking things. But those traits, in a different setting or expressed in another way, might just be your brightest talents. Talkative people might be natural speakers, sensitive individuals may be the most nuanced creators, restless thinkers might be the most innovative problem solvers. The key isn't to get rid of your loud voice, but to find a way to turn it into music. These three questions are connected, really focusing on one theme. Growing up isn't about becoming what others expect. It's about discovering yourself, accepting yourself, and being yourself through constant change. This picture book series, which has sold nearly 1 million copies in Japan and remained a recommended read for 28 years, isn't just popular because it's cute. It uses the simplest stories to touch on humanity's deepest need, to feel accepted. No matter how you change, no matter how different you are from others, no matter how noisy your voice is, there will always be an Uncle Rabbit-like presence, patiently helping you find your rhythm. And that is the gentlest version of growth. At this point, I'd like to share a few scenes and lines from the book that particularly moved me. In one scene, Uncle Rabbit unpicks the clothes for the 4th time and remeasures the frogs' bodies. He doesn't sigh or complain, he simply smiles and says, "It's okay, I'll just revise it again. It's okay, I'll just revise it again." This sentence is as simple as it gets, but think about it. How many people in our lives can truly say this? When you've changed, when you don't meet expectations, when you disappoint others, how many people will say, "It's okay, I'll start over"? Another scene comes after the frogs discover they don't have belly buttons. Instead of bowing their heads in shame, they proudly stick out their bellies and declare, "Not having belly buttons is what makes us us." That transformation from confusion to pride is probably the most powerful moment in the entire series. It reminds us that often, the difference between feeling unworthy and feeling confident isn't a monumental change. It's just a shift in perspective. The last memorable scene is in Thank You, when the 7 frogs gather around Uncle Rabbit before hibernating and sincerely say, "Thank you." You see, gratitude doesn't require grand ceremonies or extravagant words. A simple, heartfelt thank you is enough. Reflecting on today's discussion, the 7 little frogs seem to belong in a picture book for young children, sharing small, ordinary tales about clothes, belly buttons, and songs. Yet these small things form the most authentic texture of growth. We often think growth has to be dramatic, earning a degree, landing a great job, making a major decision. But in truth, growth often comes quietly in small, sometimes awkward moments, noticing your old clothes no longer fit, realizing you're different from others, trying to turn flaws into strengths, and learning to say thank you to those who've helped you. Each of us is like a little frog in transition. Maybe you're currently at the stage where your tail hasn't fully disappeared and your legs haven't fully grown, unsure of what you'll eventually become. That's okay. Change itself is the answer. And the person you're becoming is someone worth looking forward to. If this episode resonates with your own experiences of growth or reminds you of someone who's been like Uncle Rabbit in your life, feel free to share your story in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so we can keep finding warmth and strength together in stories. That's all for this episode. Wherever and whenever you're listening, I wish you a good morning, a good afternoon, or a good evening. This is Delusion. See you next time.